The internet loves a good rumor, and this one was a doozy. Steven Seagal's daughter, a model with a legit martial arts background, gets a secret tryout with WWE, only to get unceremoniously banned. The whispers said she couldn't handle the pressure, that her famous father's shadow was just too big. But like most internet rumors, the real story isn't in the headline. It's in the details of an ill-timed injury and a phone call from a wrestling legend that changed everything. So, was she really banned from WWE? The answer is a lot more complicated and way more interesting than a simple yes or no. In pro wrestling, your last name can be a golden ticket. Names like Rhodes, Hart, and Anoa'i, I carry weight, opening doors but also piling on a mountain of pressure. So when word got out that Arissa LeBrock, daughter of action movie icon Steven Seagal and actress Kelly LeBrock, was dipping her toes into the wrestling world, people paid attention. On paper, she seemed almost scientifically designed for sports entertainment. She had the look of a model, the fighting pedigree of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, and a name that was guaranteed to make headlines. But that famous name also came with some pretty complicated baggage. Steven Seagal is, to put it mildly, a polarizing figure, and his shadow is a long one. For any celebrity's kid, the biggest challenge is carving out your own identity. But for the daughter of a martial arts legend entering the world of combat sports, the challenge is monumental. The stage was set for an incredible story, but the version that caught fire online wasn't about triumph. It was a dark rumor that grew into a roar, that for some mysterious reason, Arissa LeBrock was secretly blacklisted, becoming another what-if story in a business that's full of them. This is the story of that rumor, and more importantly, what actually went down. The ban from WWE story is one of the juiciest tropes in the wrestling rumor mill. It hints at scandal, drama, and a story so hot that the biggest wrestling company on the planet had to bury it. For Arissa LeBrock, the rumors started bubbling up in the usual places, wrestling forums and social media, with no official reports or statements. Just whispers. From there, it took on a life of its own. One version claimed she had a bad attitude, that she walked in expecting the red carpet because of her dad. Others suggested she just wasn't tough enough for the brutal reality of WWE's training system. These tales were spun into dramatic YouTube videos with clickbait titles, all promising to reveal the shocking truth. They painted this picture of a failed experiment, a celebrity daughter who couldn't hack it, and was quietly shown the exit. This is exactly how misinformation spreads. It plays on our curiosity and our love for a dramatic story. Let's be honest, the idea of a famous person's kid failing spectacularly is a compelling narrative for some. It's simple and easy to digest. But it completely sidesteps the most important part of any story, the facts. And to find those, we have to go back to the beginning, to the moment Arissa LeBrock first walked into the WWE Performance Center. To really get what happened, you have to understand why WWE was interested in the first place. Pro wrestling history is built on family dynasties. Think about The Rock, whose father Rocky Johnson and grandfather Peter Maivia were both huge stars. Or Charlotte Flair, who followed in the footsteps of her iconic father, Ric Flair. Bloodlines are a proven formula. WWE knows that a second or third generation talent comes with a built-in story and an instant hook for the audience. In December 2019, it was widely reported that Arissa LeBrock was part of a group of athletes invited for a tryout at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. This wasn't some backroom deal, it was public knowledge. At the time, she was considered a blue-chip prospect. With a commanding presence from her successful modeling career and legitimate training in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, she was the real deal. She was in the same recruiting bucket as athletes like Ronda Rousey or Shayna Baszler, competitors with credible combat sports. Experience who bring a different level of authenticity to the ring. The potential was off the charts. Just imagine the marketing. The daughter of a famous Aikido master, using her own style of martial arts to take over the women's division. She was exactly the kind of unique talent WWE's global recruitment system is designed to find. The tryout was real, her potential was real, and WWE's interest was very real. So, if she wasn't a bust, what went wrong? The answer wasn't some explosive backstage fight or a battle of egos. It was something way more common, and honestly, more tragic for an athlete. A terribly timed injury. While the exact details have been kept private, the story that emerged wasn't one of drama, but of a physical setback that stopped her progress in its tracks. The WWE tryout process is famously grueling. Prospects are pushed to their absolute physical and mental breaking points to see who has what it takes. Injuries aren't just possible, they're an unfortunate part of the game. For every person who gets a contract, there are dozens whose dreams are shattered by a torn ligament, a concussion, or one bad bump. Arissa's journey was put on pause not by a lack of skill or a bad attitude, but by her body failing her at the worst possible moment. This is the boring, unsensational truth that the rumor mill just ignored. Why? Because athlete gets hurt doesn't get nearly as many clicks as celebrity's daughter band. It's also telling that in the years since that 2019 tryout, not one credible wrestling journalist from major outlets has ever reported a ban or any disciplinary action. When WWE has a real problem with someone, that story eventually gets out. The silence from reputable sources on any supposed ban for Arissa LeBrock speaks volumes. There was no scandal. It was just a setback. For a lot of people, that would have been the end of the line. But for Arissa, it was just the start of a different chapter. Facing an injury with her WWE dream on hold, Arissa LeBrock could have just walked away and gone back to modeling. But she did the exact opposite. She didn't give up. She doubled down. And this is where the story shifts from a setback to a comeback, all starting with a phone call from a wrestling legend. That legend was Dustin Rhodes. The man once known as Goldust, a veteran with decades of experience and one of the most respected minds in wrestling, had opened his own school, the Rhodes Wrestling Academy. Arissa enrolled, putting her career into the hands of a master. It was a move that showed incredible humility and drive. She wasn't leaning on her famous name. She was starting over, learning the basics and grinding it out far from the spotlight. Dustin Rhodes has publicly praised her dedication, saying she's doing a great job, but this is only the beginning for her. In March 2023, that comeback became official when Arissa LeBrock made her in-ring debut at a Rhodes Wrestling Academy student showcase. It wasn't a WWE ring, but in many ways it meant more. It was proof that her passion was real. She had stared down a huge obstacle, sought out one of the best trainers on the planet, and earned her spot on a live show through pure grit. The narrative of the failed celebrity's daughter was officially dead, replaced by the reality of a determined wrestler building her career from the ground up. In a weird twist, while Arissa was busy building her foundation on the indie circuit, a whole new version of her story blew up online in 2025. Viral videos and fan-made clips started showing up, imagining a fictional WWE debut where she would shock the world, sometimes even beating top stars like Rhea Ripley with her father's signature Aikido moves. This content, while dramatic, isn't news. It's fantasy booking, a huge part of being a modern wrestling fan. Fans love creating what-if scenarios, booking dream matches, and imagining wild storylines. These videos show that Arissa LeBrock is still very much on the minds of wrestling fans. They see her potential and are excited by the possibility of her one day making it to the big leagues. While these fantasy debuts aren't real, they prove the interest in her journey is stronger than ever. People are no longer asking if she can wrestle, but when and where she'll end up. The journey from a wild rumor to a story of pure resilience is a powerful one. If you found the real story of Arissa LeBrock surprising, do us a favor and hit that like button. It helps more people find the truth behind the clickbait. And for more untold stories from the wrestling world, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. Now, we want to hear from you. After hearing about her setbacks and her comeback, what do you think the future holds for Arissa LeBrock? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. So, was Steven Seagal's daughter banned from WWE? The answer is a clear and definitive no. There's zero evidence of a ban, a controversy, or any kind of blacklisting. The truth is a story that's much more common in sports, and frankly, a lot more inspiring. What we have is a talented, legitimate prospect who is on WWE's radar, woman with a unique look and a credible martial arts background. Her path was temporarily rerouted by an unfortunate injury, a fate that has hit countless athletes before her. But instead of vanishing, she showed incredible character. She sought out the mentorship of a legend in Dustin Rhodes. She sharpened her skills at his academy, and she made her debut on her own terms. She refused to be defined by a rumor, by her father's legacy, or by a setback. The story of Arissa LeBrock isn't one of failure. It's a story of perseverance that's still being written. The real question isn't was she banned? The real question is, what's next for Arissa LeBrock? Will her path eventually lead her back to a WWE ring?